The biggest icon in wrestling.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Wrestling News Weekly. I am, of course, Nick McDaniel, and as always, I'm joined by my buddy Myron.
Let me tell you something, mean Nick. I never would have said that if I knew I was being recorded.
And you know what's funny? Because that's what, obviously, if you heard the intro music, that's where we're going to start, man. And we'll get there because we both had a very similar take on what you just said. Obviously, there's nowhere bigger to start this week than Hulk Hogan being backstage at the Extreme Rules pay-per-view. Rumors are it was for taping something for the network, maybe some type of content or something. But of course,
there's so much stuff on the network that they tape this stuff up. Let's not think that everything they do has to do with the on-screen product. They're always making this stuff and setting this stuff up and getting it done. They just released that Jim Cornette special. Or not that show with Jim Cornette on it that they taped last year at
WrestleMania.
Your last at WrestleMania. So it's not like they just this stuff is planned out. They have a TV taping schedule as well as a television schedule.
Well, somebody once pointed out it's like a traveling network now. It's not a traveling show anymore.
Yeah.
So we have no clue what they needed. And think about it. There's really some content that you would really need. Now, okay, but I preface what I'm about to say with, I'm not saying it's right or wrong, but in their mind, there probably was something they're filming for that they needed Hulk Hogan's perspective for it to work.
Yeah.
It could have been something he personally was involved in.
Yes.
So kind of thing. But anyway. So
they just lifted the suspension so they could bring him back for something they needed him for.
They put him back in the Hall of Fame, and then there was a big meeting supposedly with all of the talent, which we'll get into in a second. But you're like me. I believe the reinstatement into the Hall of Fame was simply just to test the waters and see what the reaction is, how negative. If it was super negative, they don't have to sign him. They don't have to bring, because apparently the rumors are he's not been signed to a deal.
Yeah, and I'm still trying to figure that part out. I really don't. If he's not been signed or if he's not, but it could have been. Since he was just there for a little network thing, all they had to do was give him whatever they're going to pay him for that. They didn't have to contract sign him. It was a one-time thing.
Right, because, Tony Schiavone's mentioned on his podcast, remember he went up and did some content for the network, and whatever, and they just kind of basically, they throw you $300, $500, $1,000, $2,000, whatever they determine, the value is. They just kind of throw you the cash and you're good to go.
They fly you up there.
They fly you up there. They just want the content. So, and it could be something that simple, but of course they're I believe if they needed him, they were thinking, here's a shot. We can reinstate him in the Hall of Fame. We can see how much blowback we get. And if it's really bad, we just don't sign him. If it goes real smooth and nothing bad happens, then, hey, it's the doors open. We can get him in. But that's from the fan perspective. From the wrestler perspective, there was a meeting that took place, and apparently all the talent was told they had to fly in for this meeting, whether they were on the show or not. And
that's crazy. A big deal to fly everybody in to come do this show. You're not on, and just to hear a meeting with Hogan and have my breakdown on what I got out of the meeting, and this is from listening to James Ellsworth and what Ellsworth had said on his podcast and what the breakdown of the podcast was. That Triple H started the meeting, and he said, and basically he warned them about social media. Okay, that's a reasonable thing to do for a crowd, not in this situation though. He also warned you how dangerous it was to be caught on, how easy it was to be caught on camera, like if you're giving your thermos to your best friend's wife. Also, you're justifying what Hogan did there. Then Hogan comes on and says, he apologizes and says, I didn't even know I was being recorded. Well, that does not make it better. That's basically saying, I wouldn't have said that if I knew I was being recorded. It doesn't mean you wouldn't have said it. It means you're mad you got caught. That's not an apology. That's like him saying, well, I wouldn't have gave my friend's wife that thermos if I'd have known I was on camera. No, you still were wanting to give her the thermos.
Well, there's nothing wrong with wanting to give your friend's wife the thermos. You just
don't
give your wife the thermos.
your friend's wife the thermos. You don't hand her the thermos. That's like my damn kids. When they apologize for shit, they're mad because they got caught, not mad because they did something wrong.
Right.
I don't think that's satisfactory. I mean, I'm not involved in this in any means. And I loved Hogan as a kid, but that's a bullshit apology. If that is the apology, that's just what I got.
Right. And I mean, there's lots of factors to it. And, like I said, it's, Mark Henry came out on TMZ Sports and said that the locker room was basically 50-50.
The black locker room.
The African-American locker room was 50-50, take on it. That some were okay with it, some were not. He seems to be okay as long as he's, going to put in the effort. The New Day, not so much. I think they kind of are like, they don't know that. And look, man, everybody's going to question, was he genuine? Is he just trying to get the paychecks back? There's so much involved here that
Yeah, we don't even know a toe in the water on this situation. And
I'm not going to pretend to. So that's, there's a lot, so you can only give your opinion, and that's what we tell people. This is about opinions. This whole show's about opinions, right?
The more opinions we get, the more people like it, the more people listen.
So yeah, and so my take is real simple. I mean, I don't know that you can, we're supposedly a country of second chances.
Yeah.
But nobody wants to give anybody a second chance if it offends this group or that group, and again, I'm not saying yes or no. I'm just saying that's kind of the way it is. So does he deserve a second chance or not? You know what? He didn't offend me or, a group that I represent. So I think that answer comes from that group. Those, so that's not me. And if Mark Henry's okay with it and, but the New Day's not, then the New Day, they don't want to do, they don't want to work with him until they believe he was genuinely sorry.
Well, that's also the thing where they probably won't work with him at all anyway. Unless they plan to make him Raw general manager or something.
Well, they're on SmackDown, so it wouldn't matter. So they're not even
going to be general manager, whatever.
But my argument was, I always said, there was a while back, we talked about Hogan's return, and my argument was simple. Hogan goes on SmackDown when they go on Fox. Because that's going to be a draw.
Yeah, that'd be a definite draw if they're going to bring him on there.
Yeah.
And I don't want to, like I said, the concept was Hogan made a inflammatory statement upon finding out his daughter was dating a black man.
Well, no, it's actually, I will correct that a little bit. That wasn't what he was angry about. Okay. As far as from what I took. And see, that's the beauty of when you watch a video or something in context, I believed he wasn't angry of who she was dating. He was angry that she was going to go do business with him after he had spent hundreds of thousands of dollars building her career, trying to build her a music career. And then she started dating this guy who was in the music business, and he was like, well, I can get you places. And basically Hogan was going to be out hundreds of thousands of dollars because now this guy was going to make all the profits for what she was doing. And again, I am no way, shape, or form saying what he said was okay. Okay. My point was, I think the term he used was just because of who it was. Like he would have used and here's the thing. This is probably worse what I think he did. If it had been a Hispanic guy, he would have used a different, slur. If it had been an Italian guy, it would have been a different one. I think he was angry on the business side of it more than, that was his ultimate thing. It wasn't who she was dating. It was what she was doing in the business side of it that he felt like he was losing the money out of it after he had put all that time and effort.
So he couldn't profiteer enough off his daughter. So
I feel like he was frustrated that he had shoveled so much money into her career or an attempt at a music career. I mean, and that's what I kind of said. Imagine if your daughter was, trying to get into art. Yeah. And you had bought this and you had bought that, but art's a bad one because you can't you're really not going to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars. But you could. No, hold on. Let's back up.
Yeah. I mean, you could. Hell, my ex-wife tried to bankrupt me at Michael's.
But no. So. Let's go this way. You go to your daughter wants to go into art. So she does a whole bunch of artwork, and then you finance like an art show or whatever they're called, a gala. You rent this building for, $10,000 or whatever, and you put all of her art up, and it's all done in a fancy way. You hire some person to sell it, blah, 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 blah. You do that 2 or 3 times, and she's nickeling and diming, she's selling a picture here, a picture there. Then she starts dating somebody who's really famous in the art world, and he's like, I could put you in my, gala with me, and you'll sell 10 times that. You're in it $200,000. Now, all of a sudden, he goes, but I'll put you in mine, but I get 10% of your money when you sell it. And you got to you break everything off with your dad. So, and she goes.
Well, shouldn't he be happy that his child could be successful? You
should be, but shouldn't at some point you would be like, well, if you're making a bunch of money, can I have my money back? Now that you kind of cut me out of the business, you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And again, I'm not saying it's okay by any stretch of what he said, but I think that was kind of my point. I don't know that it was that. I think it was.
So you're making him sound less of a racist and more of a dick.
No, he could still be a racist. I don't know that. I don't know Hulk Hogan, so I'm not saying he's not a racist. I don't know. But Booker T claims that he's not. I mean, Booker T says that Hulk Hogan's part of the success of Booker T. That he's the one who fought for him. So I don't know that. I mean, I'm just saying. But again, Hogan could have been doing that for the money. So I don't know. But we kind of got really off on a tangent here, but that's the fun part. That's the fun part, right? And then the whole, it's just, I think sometimes these stories, they kind of take a life of their own. Titus O'Neil stormed out, of the meeting, which turns out, no, he didn't storm out of the meeting. He left when the meeting was over because he wasn't booked on the show, and they were told they could leave because if they weren't on the show. So again, stories take a life of their own because why? Because this is pro wrestling.
Well, that's the thing. We're sitting over here trying to talk about a actual social issue in our country in a context of wrestling. And these people are all actors. So it's almost impossible to come up with anything good to say about this kind of situation.
Oh, it's very hard. It's almost impossible because even the guys that are, the guys who are like, oh no, I'm cool with it. They could not be cool with it. They just don't want to lose their paycheck.
Yeah. I mean, I think the New Day coming out and saying something like that, if it's not a work, they could just be reading a statement prepared for them. But if it's not a work, I think that took a lot of courage in the situation.
I admire them for their stance, absolutely.
But it's wrestling, and I don't know what to tell you.
The statement.
I can't tell you for sure if it was truthful or not.
So, but anyway, long and the story of the short of it, it's, has he signed? I don't, know is what the word on the street is. But he, so will he be back? Who knows? So it's, do you want it? Do you want him back? Let us know, man. They can always, DM us at Tapped Out Pod on Twitter, Facebook. You can go to Facebook and, Tapped Out Pod. You can hunt us down that way as well. Or you can email us at tappedoutpod@gmail.com. Let us know what you think. I may put a poll up today. Do you want to see Hogan back? Yes or no? Cause I'm just curious. How many fans really want to see him back? So, but guess what? He's not back, but guess who is back? David Arquette, former WCW World Heavyweight Champion, made his return this week to Championship Wrestling from Hollywood. Wrestling, friend of the network, RJ City. We thought this thing could be it's one of those like David Arquette. How much crap did this guy take over the years for the, what he did, quote unquote, to the WCW
they blamed him everything from ruining WCW to the Kennedy assassination. He has been vilified more than just about anyone else in the history of professional wrestling. So it's hard. It's hard to defend something like a guy that is in such a bad. He was offered an opportunity, he took it. He didn't book that. Okay? He didn't book the whole thing because he was just a guy that was in the right place at the right time, using it to help get a movie over he was in.
That's it.
And you could say something very similar about Zeus.
Mm-hmm.
At one time with WWE. It's a tough call because he was there when if the WWE had went under after that, it seems to me that you could have blamed him for that. He was just trying to make a living. he was not trying to influence the greater scheme and history of the wrestling business.
He didn't come in there. Nobody, yeah, exactly. They didn't pay him. He didn't walk in there and say, I'm only taking this gig if I get crowned the WCW heavyweight champion. Like you said, it stemmed from, it was the movie. It was all just cross promotion for a movie. It's entertainment. It was entertainment back then. It's entertainment now. We're going to come back to why that's important to remember. And you're right. He just basically was fed the way he won the title. I mean, think about it. Vince McMahon was the world champion. He was an ECW world champion, for crying out loud. You want to crap on some stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
People become champions all the time that shouldn't be the champion in whose eyes? That's always my argument. When somebody said he should have never been the champion, who says? You?
Well, it's business decisions most of the time. Or if you're moving or going back and forth, you don't know all the intricacies of booking a wrestling promotion. And you also don't know all the intricacies of putting on... I hate to keep saying Bischoff show, Bischoff show, Bischoff show. But Eric Bischoff has taught in his podcast, 83 Weeks, I have learned so many neat things about producing television, not wrestling. And that's what they're doing. They have to produce television too. So you don't know what's going to happen. There's a lot of intricacies that we will never understand. So,
and kudos for Championship Wrestling from Hollywood. Shout outs to them. Yeah. They are on the Fight app. You can, the link's always up on our website at tappedoutpod.com. And you can also check it out. It's on our Twitter feed right now at the top, because I've got the link so you can download and install the app, because StarCast is going to be streaming on there. And I just wanted to put that link up there. Same thing. So, and I know the match this match we're talking about with RJ City versus David Arquette's coming soon to the Fight app. So check out the link, download it. We'd appreciate it. You supporting the Fight app, and it kind of kicks a little bit of our way if you use our link. So we appreciate it. But, apparently Arquette looked good.
Yeah. I mean, he was sharp from everything he said. And this is a guy who has not just been coming back and practicing to do a little job or something. He apparently has been working out and staying and taking this seriously. So. Yeah.
I mean, and if you haven't followed the feud, it's been a fun feud to follow, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Oh, man, fun feud to follow. That was pretty cool. I don't think
you got that out. Seashells.
Yeah,
you got that out without stuttering.
But, kudos to RJ City. I mean, same thing. It's entertainment, man. The guy's an entertainer. He's a wrestler, but he's an entertainer. If you're not following RJ City on Twitter and Facebook, you're missing out, because
that man's a hell of an entertainer.
Oh yeah, he's hilarious. And with Arquette involved, you kind of knew it was going to be a show. They did back and forth promos on Twitter and Facebook and all that stuff. So you should go back and follow that to see kind of how they get there. I mean, matter of fact, RJ City actually put up a synopsis video of the buildup of the feud on his Twitter and Facebook. So go back, you can catch up and then watch the match. But look good. Like I said, I saw some of the clips and the highlights of it. He's, knocking out diamond cutters and sharpshooters and stuff like that. So kudos to Arquette for at least not taking himself so serious, in that sense of the word. But can't wait to see it, the full thing, obviously, on the Fight app. So, but, now I'm going to segue into some stuff that I'm kind of like, I might be in that narrative of saying, I know I'm going to contradict what I just said. Some people should not be in wrestling. I'm sitting there going, it's entertainment. World-class Revolution Pro Wrestling has picked up a couple, quote-unquote, talents, that are going to be doing some work on their behalf. From my understanding, and Myron, you know a little more about this than I do, they're an entertainment company who kind of does wrestling?
Or a wrestling company that kind of does entertainment. It's hard to say, man. Sports entertainment is such a large umbrella. All this stuff can fall under it.
Yeah. Well, they're bringing in two names. Jose Canseco is one, and Farrah Abraham is the second. Now, I'm a little more familiar with Farrah Abraham than Jose Canseco.
Well, I mean, I used to follow Jose Canseco when I was a kid, and I had baseball cards, and he was great, and he was the 40-40 club every week. But everything I've read about Jose Canseco in the last 20 years has been absolute batshit.
Well, he did a book that was, and I'm being sarcastic, by the way. There's a reason why I said I'm a little more familiar with Farrah Abraham. She did some movie.
Yeah, and she can take a pounding. I'll tell you what, she might be ready for wrestling.
You know what? She might be ready for wrestling. You're right. She can give a beating and she can take a pounding. So,
Well, that's the thing about wrestling. Wrestling and pornography are not that far apart.
Ask Sonny.
Basically, you give people something they want to see. And that's what just happens, okay?
Yeah.
You give them something they want to see, and then people will watch it. And then they tailor it based on what people want to see. They're always up forward in the presentation on technology. Internet, look at WWE had a network very quickly. So there's not that much different. So she might fit in well. It's all spectacle. It's all spectacle.
Right. Now.
And you got all these people that, you got Jose Canseco, who just all he does since retiring from baseball has just sought attention. Okay? He was one of the steroid guys. Seeks attention. Okay, we get it, Jose. We understand. You want attention. And look, okay, if these people have a Hall of Fame, what the hell would their celebrity wing of the Hall of Fame look like? It's going to be an absolute turd.
Yeah.
You know, these people are crazy.
Well,
it's a wrestling thing.
Now, I'm going to quasi-defend some of it. Not much, but some of it. Farrah Abraham's not going to wrestle. They've outright said she's pretty much going to be appearances and signings at conventions and stuff representing the company, that kind of thing. She'll probably come out. At one point, she may come out to the ring and wave. Who knows? Jose Canseco, I mean, he's done, did he box?
He's done Tough Man in boxing.
That was what it was, yeah. So who knows? Maybe he's got a wild hair and he's going to try to get in there and tumble, you know, because it'd be a draw. I'd pay once to see him get his ass whooped, but, or something like that, but I don't know about regularly.
No, it's kind of one of those things. They're using this to draw attention. And when you want to draw attention, you hire attention magnets. Farrah Abraham already started some kind of bullshit thing with Alexa Bliss, which got her into the headlines of the wrestling pages.
I'd pay to see
probably
that.
got her on TMC.
I'd pay to see that, though.
Exactly.
Farrah Abraham versus Alexa Bliss, I'd pay to see that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Anyway, sorry, sidebar.
But, that's not the point.
Yeah.
But it's like I said, these people are heat magnets. And they know what they're doing. As far as if they just want to get somebody to draw attention to their promotion, even if it's bad, there is the problem. It's bad attention, but it's wrestling. So how can you say any press is good press?
Well, I think it's sometimes the selection process is in question when bringing in talents, and that's kind of what we're always saying. But why they make those decisions, who knows? But we're not the only one questioning talent selections and things this week. Apparently, we're going to jump over to some New Japan stuff here for a minute. Naito, in an interview, basically questioned how talent is chosen for the G1 Climax tournaments.
Now, has he been put out of one of those? Has he been excluded for some of that stuff?
No, it's not that. He's in it. They have they determine how many shows they're going to have. They're having 19 shows. So they determine they need 20 wrestlers because they have blocks of 10, et cetera, blah, 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 whatever. So it's all kind of figured out that way. But his argument is you should figure out how many grade A talents that deserve to be in the tournament and then build the tournament around the talent. Give her one or two, maybe they're dark horses if you want to call them that. But his example he gave was surprising to me he was like, why is Tama Tonga in here? Because he hasn't really done anything recently. So why would he deserve to be in the tournament? He goes, I get it why you've got, Tanahashi, Okada's in it, blah, 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 Kenny Omega, obviously those guys make sense. But why some of these other guys, he felt like, take the top tier talent you have and then build the tournament based off of that.
That's not how that works in any playoff situation with whatever sport it is. There's always going to be somebody that slips in that's unfit to be there.
The wild card. So you have a wild card team.
You have a field. That's how many people is cited in every playoff, in every sport, regardless of what it all is.
The king of that's the NBA. How much garbage reaches the playoffs at the bottom of that pool?
It's just the way brackets work.
Mm-hmm.
You can't say, oh, let's look around. Okay, we only got 8 guys that are worth being in this. Well, that's not going to work. You can't just bring 8 guys. Or we got 37 guys. Well, no, you need a 38th guy. are you going to have to exclude one of those guys? It's just not the way it works.
The NCAA tournament, 64, 65 teams make it. They don't all deserve to be there, quote unquote, but they are. And their biggest knock is, well, nobody believes X guy's going to win, blah, 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 blah. The Giants made it to the Super Bowl and won as a wild card team. They should have never won that Super Bowl kind of thing. But that to make the argument against what he said right out of the gate, Jay White defeats Okada on night one. So you're like, holy crap, so here's a win now. That means clearly something's up for Jay, but but those kind of things, I just thought it was real interesting for a guy to come out and say like, well, I don't really like the way they picked the tournament. It should be this. And I just thought that was it was just different. I mean, it's for somebody to come out and outright argue that in public. But but anyway, while we're on New Japan / Ring of Honor, cause it's a New Japan story, did you hear the news, that on the cruise they've announced a big match? It's going to be the Alpha Club, which is Chris Jericho and the Young Bucks versus the Bullet Club, Marty Scurll, Kenny Omega and Cody. My whole thing is the storyline of why are the Young Bucks with Chris Jericho? Or as they're calling themselves, it's, Y2 Jackson or the Bucks of Jericho, they've called themselves a couple things. But man, you want to talk about drawn to that boat. If you hadn't bought a ticket now, you probably want one.
Yeah. I've always wanted to be on that boat. Any boat ride with Jericho is going to be fun. But you got, this is the ultimate indie super wish fanboy jerk off fantasy thing. And Jericho understands how to get that and make it into something he can promote his cruise with. This is awesome. This is phenomenal for business. This is how you book a territory. If you want to give people what they want to see, they will pay for it. Okay? And likely, they're going to actually try to get this recorded so people can see it, and everybody will be popping over it. Unless they put Meltzer on the cruise, and he ruins everything. This will be awesome.
I'll give you a good conspiracy theory.
What's that?
Alpha Club, Chris Jericho and the Young Bucks. This cruise is it's this fall, right? In October or something like that?
Yeah.
The Young Bucks, contracts are up at the end of the year. You want a hell of a debut return? How about Chris Jericho and the Young Bucks walk out on Raw, like at the Rumble, or at the beginning of the year, they debut on Raw as the Alpha Club?
I don't know.
Because if you don't, let's put it this way: if Jericho returns, and everybody's going to be like, "Well, Jericho will overshadow the Young Bucks debut," with all due respect, we talk about this all the time, millions of fans, casual fans who watch Raw who watch nothing else.
Yeah. You
want to give the Young Bucks, who are two of the most talented wrestlers on the planet, they're one of the best tag teams in the world. That's arguable, but whatever. That's what they're called. Let them walk out on TV with Chris Jericho.
Well, Jericho's instant credibility.
Exactly. So for all of the marks, the internet marks, so you want to call them whatever, they would totally geek out at that. They would totally just explode for that. And then everybody who's a casual fan who has no idea who the Bucks are, instantly if they're with Chris Jericho, they're somebody.
Mm-hmm.
So just keep that in mind. It's a terrible theory, but it's a theory nonetheless. I mean, because if that's the way you want to slowly break it off and have it happen, how about Chris Jericho if he could pull off that kind of the transition for him? If the deals are being made, Vince, would probably absolutely use it to his advantage.
Well, like I said, he's that mastermind that is on top. Either he's on top or he's got enough people thinking for him that it makes it look like he's on top.
Yeah.
Because he's the man, and it works out that way. So I like to see what they're doing.
Yeah. But, again, man, that big Ring of Honor stuff, New Japan's news this week, I did want to bring up, just out of sheer proving a point, Ring of Honor New Japan announced that April 6, 2019, they are doing the Super Show in Madison Square Garden after all. The conversations with the evil, Mr. McMahon did not squash the whole deal that, he's keeping them out of Madison Square Garden. Well, apparently that's not true. And then some people say it was sarcastic. Some people are as angry, whatever. The WWE did basically put out a statement saying Madison Square Garden can do business with whoever they want to. I mean, they're free to do business with whoever. And I mean, if they're going to run, to me, there's nothing wrong. And especially, I just don't think, and I'm not saying he's not threatened by it. I don't mean it this way, but if Vince is kind of like, whatever. Now, I know back in the day when it was WCW, it was a different time. It was a different place. Maybe Triple H is getting in his ear about saying, well, maybe we can play nice, with everybody. They're not a threat at this point. It's a brand. They're not a threat to the WWE brand. They're not.
They're a completely different thing. And also, you got a very powerful company in Sinclair Broadcasting that has a lot of lawyers and a lot of money. So it's kind of hard. I mean, I know the WWE has money and lawyers, but they got more. So I would wager that they said something to them and they realized, couldn't get around it. So let's just go ahead and go with it.
Yeah, just go along for the ride. Let them do the show. Let them do 3 or 4 shows. I mean, it keeps the wrestling business having multiple big shows is a good thing, and we've said that forever.
Yeah.
That's just kind of what it needs to be. It needs to be. And people working together as a whole is good for the business, which kind of brings me to my next point. I wanted to, shout out to our friend of the show, QT Marshall, the One Fall Power Factory. Ring of Honor kind of announced they're working with some training facilities to become dojos essentially for their Ring of Honor, program. And, the One Fall Power Factory here in the Atlanta area down in Norcross was actually chosen as one. Yeah. And I mean, that was a huge get for QT and those guys down there, so soon. I mean, being relatively new to the business, but they contributed so much. I mean, the success they've already had. Yeah. Kudos to those guys.
Yeah, that's a great compliment. I'm really, really glad to see them getting that because they're doing excellent work down there. So, that's dynamite.
Yep, and we're going to be heading down there this weekend for a show.
I got a great show. Got some good shows this weekend, man. I could go to shows. I'm off Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. I could go to shows every night and see a top show.
We're going Saturday and Sunday this week.
Saturday. Yeah, I want to go see Southern Fried. And if you haven't seen some of my new experiments with YouTube videos and interviews, go check those out. I got a great one with Joseph Rock and Drew Blood. You'll be seeing more stuff like that. I hope you all enjoy it. Also, there is going to be a great showdown at One Fall with a lot of big talent.
Ring of Honor talent, going to be in town. So, I mean, Ring of Honor.
If you want to go out and see some Ring of Honor talent, come on down Sunday to One Fall Power Factory. Follow them on Facebook or Twitter. Get all your information and go down there and see them. You will not be disappointed. For the price you have to pay for a ticket, you're getting a whole lot.
Yeah. I mean, Punishment Martinez is going to be there. The boys, Dalton Castle's, team, they're going to be there. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, LSG is going to be there. So, I mean, there's going to be some Ring of Honor names there as well with some of the young talent that he's putting through there. And QT is going to be in the ring himself. Mm-hmm. So, but let's go ahead and move on, man, before we go too long, because that's kind of what we love to do, right? Sometimes we go too long.
I actually got one more topic I forgot to put into the notes that I wanted to talk about.
What you got?
It's a weird thing to me, and it's not something that would have been weird 10 years ago or 20 years ago in wrestling, but the whole concept that all these rumors are coming out that the Bayley and Sasha thing could be a lesbian storyline. Why in 2018 is sexuality a storyline for wrestling? It just doesn't make any sense. And it's badly timed. And if that is what you're going to do, WWE, shame. If not, if it's just a rumor, I don't have a problem. But if that's the plan, that y'all plan to make a storyline out of who people want to have intercourse with, it's bullshit. That's just not how the world works anymore.
I hate to tell you this, as a public company who just signed a big deal with Fox, and that's got to be a rumor. There's no way that's happening.
I'm hoping so, because that's just bad.
I couldn't buy that, and as much as everybody wants to knock the WWE and whatever, I couldn't buy that for anything right now. You couldn't convince me that they were even take that risk and put that out there.
I hope not.
Because it could just be like completely misconstrued and, turned and just, twisted. And I just can't, like I said, and no good. I can't see them even thinking that anyone in that room thinking that was a good idea.
Good.
I think it's just friends gone wrong or whatever, like that kind of thing.
I don't know why they keep dragging this friendship storyline out because it's not going anywhere, and I don't know if it's because people have lost interest with the two of them or if people just don't care. We'll see.
Yeah,
work it out. I'm sure somebody can figure something out to do.
Yeah, I mean, but they're figuring something out. I mean, if you believe this, but I know. Me and you have, after listening to some of 83 Weeks and Bischoff's statements about ratings and doing a little digging myself to understand the ratings a little better, don't put a ton of stock into the ratings as much as I once did, which is kind of funny, especially when the numbers aren't that drastic of a change. But for everybody's doom and gloom last week with the worst Raw viewership of all time, the 2.470, Raw bounces back, basically gaining 400,000 viewers this week. Going to 2.866 with 3.118 million first hour, 2.859, and then 2.622 for over the 3 hours respectively. It seems like we joked about this. Hour 2 seems to be the benchmark. Wherever you're at hour 2, that's going to be your overall rating. And you're right. It's just, I think the later you get, the numbers are going to fall. People aren't staying up. But, the bounce back's there. So I don't know what everybody wants to say on that. I don't say good or bad. I mean, at this point, I don't.
Well, that's the thing. I actually, I never miss anything Jim Cornette does. And he was talking about the ratings back in OVW. And the way they do it, your sample is so small. If 3 families out of your sample go on vacation in 1 week, your ratings could crash through the floor. I mean, that's the thing. Ratings are hard to predict, especially, I would think, during the summertime. So, I'm beginning to put less and less stake in that, just like you. I think it's it's an interesting concept, but it's more of a talking point than it is anything. Now,
if you lost 2 million viewers,
yes,
panic. I mean, like you said, how about this theory? Because I brought it up. Remember, we talked about people vacationing. Everybody was like, "Well, it wasn't the 4th of July." You couldn't pay me enough right now to travel on a vacation on the 4th of July week.
No.
I would go the week before, the week after, sometimes not on that week. So it would not shock me what you just said. A huge chunk of the population chose to just wait till the next week to go on vacation because it wouldn't be as crowded and as expensive.
No.
So.
Well, that and the fact that people act so damn crazy on the holidays as far as drinking and behaving, I would rather be some place where things are calmer. Yeah. And I'm probably going to be the one drinking and misbehaving, but
you're going to do it at home on your own deck.
I would do it quietly and not cause other people problems, like a grown up. People are crazy these days. I don't like to travel anytime where there's going to be a lot of people on the road, especially for like those amateur drunk holidays where people that don't drink all year long go out and get hammered and drive. No.
Exactly. Now, vacations could, people coming back from vacation could contribute to the spike. I had another theory. I think it had a lot to do with, at the Extreme Rules pay-per-view, which we're not going to address a ton. I mean, there's some of it we're going to talk about. But it is what it is. Kurt Angle threw down an ultimatum that Brock Lesnar be at Raw, basically say when he's defending this belt, they're going to get it resolved, or he was going to strip him of the title. And I think that spiked a lot of interest, and that's why the viewership shot up some. So all that being said, that kind of leads me to my point of, we're going to address 2 things with Brock Lesnar. One, that does show that Brock is a draw, in my opinion. People that argue he's not, I think they're wrong, and that shows
Brock's the biggest draw in professional wrestling, and there's no way to argue that.
Oh, by the way, and UFC at this point.
Yes.
So
he's an absolute legit badass who you can use to bring attention to what you're doing. You could take Brock Lesnar and put him on a fishing show right now, and that would be the highest rated fishing show. You could take him and have him make an appearance in a baseball game, and it would make news.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if anybody said it at all, because, we'll kind of go to waffle between a UFC talk and a little wrestling talk here for a second. Because, everybody's talking about, Brock this in UFC and Brock that in WWE. Booker T brought up a great point. everybody's complaining about why is Brock Lesnar jumping into a UFC ring and getting a title shot right out of the gate. Well, Booker T's point was fans need to understand it's first and foremost UFC, pro wrestling, all the above, their entertainment.
Yes, exactly.
Their objective is simple: sell tickets and get buy rates on their pay-per-views. That's why Brock Lesnar does those things, especially in a UFC fight. He's gonna get buys, and then there was the whole he came in and the way the push and everybody, UFC's out wrestling, pro wrestling at this point.
Yeah.
With the storyline. And the craziest thing is, I'm going to follow up to that, is apparently they did pre-plan the whole calling him into the ring, but Jonathan Coachman is saying that the push on DC, Daniel Cormier, was not part of the plan, that Brock was just a little pissed that Daniel Cormier went a little too WWE with his call into the ring, like a little promo to get him in the ring, so he did shove him. Now,
Brock, that goes and goes for that thing. Brock's a hothead. Brock will go off his own. Brock will go into business for himself. And to me, that's a sell. To think that, what can Brock do now? Oh, Brock's going to go crazy. Brock's going to break somebody. Brock's going to bloody somebody up.
Yeah. That's
one reason I like to see him. That's one reason I like Brock Lesnar matches. He may not be the best wrestler anymore, but there's always that fear that something's going to go crazy or Brock's going to flip out and really hurt somebody.
Or that Brock Lesnar he's a businessman and it's not going to happen. Yeah. But there's always a bit of intrigue that Brock may just decide, screw this, I'm not losing.
Mm-hmm.
And what are you going to do? What are you going to do if he decides he's not losing tonight?
Yep.
So, and basically what we learned is, during Raw is, I'm going to mention Extreme Rules a little bit here. So we get Bobby Lashley versus Roman Reigns. Bobby Lashley gets the win, obviously Extreme Rules, with nothing of consequence on the line, essentially, other than they're just going to finally wrestle each other. So we're going to get to Raw. We're going to announce that we're going to have 2 triple threats, with Bobby Lashley in one group, Roman in the other group, and I think the painting's already on the wall, right? It doesn't matter that Drew McIntyre and Finn Balor are wrestling Roman Reigns. Roman Reigns gets the win. Bobby Lashley's in there with Seth Rollins and with Elias. Bobby Lashley gets the win. So next week on Raw, we're going to get the 2 of those guys facing for the opportunity to face Brock Lesnar at SummerSlam, and that's who we're going to get. So
I think I've seen that before.
And I know
I saw it Sunday night.
Exactly. Now, let me ask you a question. You brought up something before, when we were talking a little bit on the side. You believe somehow this ends in some kind of controversial finish and we get a triple threat.
That's got to be what it does. They'd love to put those 3 in there in one time because it gives you the opportunity for Brock to lose easy, okay, and get away to UFC. If it's a triple threat match, you don't discredit Brock when you bring him in there and put him up against Roman and Bob, because one of those 2 can lose. Basically, Lesnar had his title stolen. He didn't lose it on his own wrestling or whatever you want to call it. And you get to slip away and you go back to the story, storyline. Brock leaves without, what's the word? Without hurting his image. And you can go ahead and put it back on the program. You get him to UFC, get him doing that, and then you can come back later and bring him back with still full credibility.
Well, here's my argument to that. I'm going to disagree with you, and I'll tell you why. At some point, and I know they did it with Goldberg, but at some point when Brock loses this title, Brock needs to be beat, because that rub needs to go to the next guy. I mean, if Roman Reigns pins Bobby Lashley and becomes the new champion in a triple threat match, then what did you accomplish with Brock Lesnar's reign as, building him as a monster to not actually be beat for the title? Because then, like you said, then you're going to have an uncrowned champion argument. Brock can always say, I was never beat. I'm the rightful champion.
But they have so much money invested in him and the package that they're shipping off to UFC, they're not going to shit on it. They're not going to hurt UFC buy rates by shitting on him on his way out.
No fan is confused. Everybody knows that WWE's a work, and it doesn't matter. Anybody can be beat. I mean, think about the 2 of them could almost gang up on Brock Lesnar and beat him. at some point. So, but I'm just saying, I think to clearly get some momentum on whomever it is, whether it be Bobby Lashley or whether it be Roman Reigns or whatever, Brock Lesnar needs to be beaten at SummerSlam.
I honestly don't think you'll ever see Brock Lesnar beaten again. Not on the WWE card. I don't think the money's not right.
I think I just think that would be an unequivocal disaster mistake for them not to at some point. And because think about it, his contract. There's rumors, it was a 6-month deal or it was a blah 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 deal from WrestleMania. If he's moving on and he's going to UFC and he's not coming back, he's got to be beaten. He has to be beaten on the way out. And it's not that he's opposed to being beat, obviously, because he let Goldberg beat. You know what I mean? Or he did the job for Goldberg. I mean, he's been beat by Triple H.
He did the job for Goldberg and then came back and got his win back on the last fight.
Yeah, but I still, to this day, I'm telling you, Brock's got to be beaten at SummerSlam to get that, at least that new champion can say with legitimacy that he's the champion. Roman beating Bobby Lashley or Bobby Lashley pinning Roman Reigns, to me, it just kills any legitimacy to their title reign because every fan's going to say you did not beat the champ. And that's always been my argument about triple threat matches that I hate about them is they get out of it.
I do too. I hate about them, but I understand the tool.
I understand the tool. It is a tool. But if it's a champion that I just can't, like I said, I don't know that anybody can convince me otherwise. At some point, Brock Lesnar, he's not going to tap. So Brock Lesnar needs to be pinned. Somehow, some way, he needs to be pinned. Because going into the UFC, I will buy your argument that they're not going to let him tap to somebody, and defeat. Because that would hurt him more going into UFC than being pinned in UFC, in my opinion.
I think Dana and Vince are closer than they've ever been before. And I think they're going to use that. And it's just business, man.
Agreed. And now I know I want to spin off on our last topic before what I have over here is everybody's like, well, why are we getting Roman Reigns potentially versus Brock Lesnar or Bobby Lashley versus Brock Lesnar again? We don't get, and we're going to go simple to the answer of, because if you watched Extreme Rules, Vince McMahon served up every Internet Marks, one of their dream matches, quote unquote, as the main event, Dolph Ziggler versus Seth Rollins in a 30-minute Iron Man match. And the crowd crapped on it for, 20 minutes. Doing this obnoxious counting thing and the buzzing thing, the crowd chants. I'm not even going to sidebar on the chants, by the way, because I've done that 100 times, it seems like, on the show. Mm-hmm. It's cool to cheer and boo and whatever, but at some point, the fans doing what they did, and even to the point now there's a video of Ziggler and Rollins discussing it in a sleeper hold in the middle of during the match. Mm-hmm. That's aired out there. You crapped on a match. You gave Vince McMahon every reason to say, I gave them what they claim they want, and they crapped on it. They weren't paying attention. They didn't want it. So now we're going to go back to, if they're going to crap on it and do this anyway, because think about it. If it was been a Roman and it had been Bobby Lashley in the main event and they done that, then everybody would have said like, oh, well, people were disinterested. They didn't want it. Well, Vince McMahon now has an argument to say they were disinterested in doing the exact same thing. So I'm going to appease my ego and I'm going to put my guys back at the top, because if it doesn't matter who's at the top, that's what they're going to do. I'm going to make them my guys on the top. And so you just basically handed Vince McMahon every bit of ammo to roll Roman Reigns and Brock Lesnar right back out there again.
I have to agree with you. I have to agree with you 100% on this. But I think that match was booked in a bad place. They should have put that match in the middle of the card. The weirdest thing I saw about that, the whole card, is it was a long card, but the matches were short. Because you had the Nakamura win was basically, 2 or 3 shots is over. The whole wing with the B team over the Hardy and Bray Wyatt quick match. You take all these quick matches and you get people in that pace. Quick match. And then you leave a 30-minute Iron Man match, which is undoubtedly the most boring type of match in wrestling, in my opinion. And it takes forever. and it was in a bad spot on a long pay-per-view.
But dude, I'll give you the argument. Every internet mark on the planet will sit there and tell you that, oh my God, Kenny Omega and Okada for an hour, you know, on a 4 or 5 hour pay-per-view event's the greatest thing. It gets 10 stars from Dave Meltzer. So to me, that argument's, it's, you know, that's what they claim they want. They, you know, New Japan gives you 1 hour of Okada and Omega at the end of Wrestle Kingdom. You know, I mean, I know I'm being exaggerated because they didn't wrestle at Wrestle Kingdom, but it's not, you know, Dominion or whatever the hell they wrestle, and they wrestle for an hour at the end of a 4 or 5 hour pay-per-view, and everybody just spooges all over it. Yes. WWE says, well, good, we'll give you if you're tired of 12-minute matches or whatever, we'll give you a 30-minute match with two of the technically best wrestlers on the planet, which is what you claim you want, and then you crap on it. So, did you crap on it because it's WWE?
I think a lot of that has to do with it. I think even the people that go to the shows crap on it because it's WWE. Even if you're buying a ticket. Well, I'm going to go see this shit and I'm not going to like it. Well, don't buy the damn ticket. Okay? I'm 45 years old. I ain't got time to sit and watch a 5-hour pay-per-view with an hour match on it. This pay-per-view, what do you say, 3 hours and 40 minutes with a 30-minute match? Mm-hmm. I ain't got the strength for that. I'd rather see, well, there were 13 matches on the card.
Something
tired
like that,
of it. Okay? When I was fast-forwarding through it, I probably missed matches. They were running them in so fast. I don't have a problem with fast matches. You know, WrestleMania used to be like 3 hours, and they get that damn thing. They get 12 matches in on that. Why you got to run me a 3-hour, 4-hour pay-per-view, which is too long? I lose interest after the third hour. The third hour, Raw has proven that a third hour is not needed. Book 8 matches and do it in 2 hours. I see indie promotions do this all the time, and you know. Their timing is not perfect like WWE. Give me something I like. I like the spectacle. I like the bullshit. And that's what the majority of WWE fans are for. They like to see the build-up. They like to see the gimmicks. They like to see the ring entrances. They like to hear Stone Cold's music, and then they pop. Watch New Japan if you like New Japan. Okay? Plenty of that stuff. Not me. I don't watch it. I ain't got anything against it, but it's not for me. But if you start like running that stuff on the WWE, I'm going to be asleep. Because most people work on Monday mornings. I work every other Monday morning, so it works out for me good sometimes. But most people will have to get up the next day. And you've got a pay-per-view that is running until 11 o'clock once a month on a work night for most people. That's a big deal.
Well, it's not I don't think the 11 o'clock's the bad part. It's that you've been sitting there for 4 hours if you're watching.
Yes. Get that shit out there, man. Get that thing moving. Get them 3 hours tops.
I strongly encourage this, by the way. I know everybody's like, oh, but you would have missed something. I can go back and watch it. I don't even start watching the pay-per-views until 8. I just completely skipped the 7 o'clock hour. I watched it from 8 on. And then if like once I get into it, like I'll look at, you know, something and say like, oh, what match did I miss in the the earlier part? If it's something I wanted to see, I just go back and watch it. I guess what? It's called the network now. You can do that anytime you want to. It's not real hard anymore.
Even while it's going on.
Yeah, I've actually done that before, believe it or not. I've jumped in at like the 8 o'clock hour, started it from the beginning, and if it's something I really didn't care to watch, I'll just zip past that match and catch up. Yeah. Eventually you catch up.
Yeah.
They're going through, think about it, they go through promos and crap like that to set up a match. I just zip through that, and eventually you will catch up. I do the same thing with Raw, by the way.
Yeah. I guarantee I could open up 2 windows on my computer if they'd let me run 2 network feeds at one time on one thing, and have
live feed on one and
and roll back to the other one and do it.
Yeah, you know? My easy answer is simply that. Just if you don't have the time or the effort, everybody complains about like start watching Raw at 9, DVR it, start watching it at 9. You'll zip through commercials, you'll zip through promos, and repeat like they're showing you what happened early in the show. You'll catch up. I do it every week. I don't watch it. I don't watch it live from 8 to 9. I tell the wife we can go to dinner, we can do this. I give her a little time, and boom, I get 2 hours, and I don't watch it.
And it's on your DVR if you want to see it again.
Exactly. Same thing with the pay-per-views. You're watching them now. If you're not watching them on WWE Network and you're doing a pay-per-view, you're nuts. But B, so when you're doing, yeah, I can't see that. That makes no sense to me. But there are people out there who've told me they do that. So if you're on the network, you can start the pay-per-view from the beginning. Start watching it at 8 o'clock. Start watching it, whatever. Everybody's like, I don't want...
me pop like it was one of Charlotte Flair's breast implants.
It's just stupid. But watch it from the beginning. Start it an hour later or whatever. Everybody's like, I don't want spoilers. Stay off social media for that little bit of time until you caught up, and then you can jump back on your social media.
Well, yeah, I find my Facebook has less spoilers than my Twitter. So I just stay on Facebook if I'm going to be on social media because people don't go out with spoilers. People put on my Twitter post these long and very involved spoilers, which is just, I just don't look at that page. Not that hard. Watch what you want, people. If you don't like it, don't watch it. If you do like it, watch it. Make yourself happy. If you're going to sit on the internet and just bitch, go find something else to do. Go play video games. Go watch tennis. It's too much life's too short to watch something you don't like.
I'm with you. Yeah. I'm with you totally, man. So like I said, we're trying to give you life lessons. We're trying to give you, if you've got any feedback, you got any comments, questions, whatever from down in the future, remember Tapped Out Pod on Twitter, Tapped Out Pod on Facebook, tappedoutpod@gmail.com for emails, tappedoutpod.com is the website. Make sure you head on over, click on subscribe, to all that good stuff on there on iTunes, Google Play, SoundCloud, blah, 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 all the above. You know where we're at. You can find us. Anything, man, you got before we get out of here? That was a long...
No, I'm really looking forward to a big weekend of wrestling. This is going to be, to me, it's the summer months are always the best in indie wrestling, like local, except for the heat. Thankfully, the places we go to typically are not unheated or uncooled. So it's a great time right now. We're going to get to see 2 shows this weekend, minimum. And they're going to be phenomenal shows. I probably don't have enough for 3 shows. Come back, work 3 days, and go on vacation. And good God, is the amount of shows just in Atlanta we have accessible over that time. And even if we want to drive up to SCI for one night or two,
yeah,
and come back and watch a show, there's a lot of great things right now in wrestling in the Atlanta area. Probably this is going to be the highlight of the year for me, this 2-week period, as far as seeing good quality shows and getting to see some indie talent I haven't got to see in a while. Hadn't seen Jim Nash in a long time. We'll get to see them next weekend.
Yep.
So get out there, folks. Buy a ticket. Enjoy it.
Yeah, I'm going to plug in some real quick. Like I said, you're already talking about Southern Fried. For anybody in our local Atlanta area, we got a bunch of listeners, obviously, because we're based out of Atlanta. Loganville this Saturday night. We're going to see friend of the show, Drew Blood and JB Enterprises, Joseph Brock, those guys. By the way, if you're not following them, they're hysterical, the stuff they've been doing lately, and especially the stuff that you did with them and you put up on YouTube. Yeah. But follow them on Facebook because Joseph Brock, Drew Blood do some hilarious skits on there. Sunday is the big day. Like you said, we're going down to the One Fall Power Factory. QT Marshall's on the card, facing off against, as one of his, it was one of his star pupils, and apparently they've had a parting of ways, and they're going to be facing off. Of course, Punishment Martinez and some of the other Ring of Honor talent's going to be there. Just wanted a real quick shout out. Real good friend of the show, Frankie Air Paris is, I don't know if you saw this, September 22nd. I've got that date right. The Superstars of Wrestling Fan Fest that they're doing up in Rome, Georgia. I've just kind of, he invited me to the group. We've talked about it a little bit. The name's starting to show up. Demolition's going to be there. Jeff Jarrett's going to be there. Of course, Karen Jarrett will be there as well. Ronnie Garvin's going to be there. Just some of the names they're bringing in for this fan. It just keeps getting bigger. Francine's going to be there. Sandman's going to be there. There's ECW talent coming in as well. So I'm super excited about it. So follow them on Facebook, Superstars of Wrestling. You'll see it. It's September 22nd in Rome, Georgia. Frank Paris has gotten involved in that. They're doing a phenomenal job. I just want to say shout out to those guys for what they're doing up there, especially local. I mean, we always looking for good stuff to go to, and I'm like, man, I'm going to put that one on the calendar for sure.
Yeah, definitely. I can't wait to see that. Every time they post something that's even better, and you got Ronnie Garvin's not one that I see regularly on shows.
No, he's not.
Yeah. So I think that's a very good opportunity to get to be able to see him. And some of the guys, Demolition. Wow, that's awesome. Get out there and see these guys, folks. This was what your childhood. I mean, they wrote our childhood. I love it. I love getting to see all that. So I love being a wrestling fan right now. I love being a comic book fan right now. Anything, video game fan right now, because it's the best time ever.
Well, speaking of time, man, if I got nothing left and you got nothing left, what time is it, brother?
It's time to tap out.